Hello there, this is Anthony Moirore on Book Talk at Book Place. And today we have a guest with us who is none other than Linwood Jackson. And Linwood Jackson has written or has authored a book, several books, but today we're going to look at one of his latest books, which is none other than Justification. But we won't go right into it. First, we're going to know exactly who is Linwood Jackson. So can we all welcome Linwood Jackson into the show? Welcome, Linwood.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah,
you. Thank you for the love. Thank you for having me. And
you,
everybody that's listening and tuned in.
yeah, and all those who are going to watch the recorded version of this show. So can you please briefly tell us whom you are, Linwood?
I am an author
Mhm.
and a poet and writing on the philosophy that's within the Bible,
Okay.
which, the philosophy is regeneration of the heart and mind, which it goes out of the words that are in the book and it brings it into real life. So it's just not held to a book. It's brought into the human lifestyle.
Oh, wonderful. So, where are you based?
United States,
Okay.
Massachusetts, the state of Massachusetts.
That's where you were born and raised up?
I was born and raised here, yeah, but you know what? I love to travel to another state called Maine. That is my state. Maine, beautiful. It's open country. It's just land and a little bit of ocean or a lot of ocean if you go to a certain place, but peaceful. The people are I've never seen people as beautiful and as nice and as, caring for your concern as the people there. So like once I got there, the vibe that I got was just, this is me.
Oh,
So all my life in Massachusetts, but I vacation in Maine.
how often? I mean, every year you're going there?
Every year, yeah, the whole COVID thing kind of I haven't been there since maybe last year,
Mm-hmm.
but prior to that, every year I'm there. In a cabin or some place, just taking in the scenery and just roaming.
Ah, good. I love nature too. Nature is beautiful. I mean, when you're in a good place that has good aura around, I can always.
And you're in Greece. I mean, like, come on, that's the best place. Like, that's so historic. The legacy of this place.
Yeah, it's historic. It has a lot of, I mean, all the philosopher came from there. And the good
Exactly.
thing, there's a big part of the Bible that is based in Greece.
Yep.
And so it's a beautiful place. I'm glad to be here, although I'm from Kenya, but I'm loving it here. So if I may ask, when did you start writing?
Wow. I wanted to say like the immediate answer, but the real answer is 7 years old.
7 years.
That's when I 7 years old. That's when I started writing poetry.
Oh, that's
So
beautiful.
yeah, it's I just for some reason just disconnected from everything. I just needed something to get myself toned down. So
Okay.
I'm not so turned up within. So I knew that what I was seeing wasn't a reality for me. You go through life, you see society on the outside, and then you see society at home,
Yeah.
and then you be like, you're just like, I don't know, I don't feel this,
Mm-hmm.
and so I had poetry, and I just didn't know it was poetry. I just sat there writing. I grew up not really in a religious household, but with a mother that when I was a baby, she tells me stories. She would read the proverbs to me
Okay.
as I'm going to sleep as a baby. She's holding me, so she always raised me with there's an eye and a mind that's out there, and you can connect and talk to that mind, and it can hear you, and your prayers are heard. So my
Mhm.
poetry was dedicated to this mind. This mind, I'm asking this mind questions, and I'm trying to communicate with this mind and have that mind communicate with me. So that was my first step into poetry,
Uh,
into writing.
And when you say that you looked at the people around, were there some things that you picked from the environment, negative or something or positive? I don't know.
Yeah, character traits. We do not get to choose where we are born to.
Mm-hmm.
And as a matter of fact, there is nobody alive that can ever say, I have said I do to life. We've never chosen life.
Yeah, yeah, sure.
And so when you grow up in an that, you're growing up, and I guess I just had the state of mind to just think I didn't choose this. I
Mm-hmm.
didn't choose these people, but they're here for a reason. This environment, it's not nourishing something within me. I need to nourish something within myself somehow. And
Okay,
that's in it poetry. That was my outlet. I don't know. That was just the outlet to make
okay.
sense of my mother and my father, to make sense of
I think there's some interference in the connection or something. You touched somewhere that is the voice. Your voice is not clear. There's some noise going on around somewhere.
oh, how is it now?
Now it's good.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Maintain it that way. Yeah,
Can you hear me now?
yeah. I'm hearing you well. We are hearing you well.
Okay.
But
Yeah,
although there's still some cracking sound.
I don't know why.
Okay. Um, but you're good now.
I'm good now?
If it stays that way, we are good to go.
Okay. I'm
Yeah,
like still good?
yeah, you're still good.
Okay.
And I pray it's gonna be good to the end.
So you didn't hear any of that?
We had a bit of it. I mean,
Okay.
yeah, but you mentioned about maybe the environment, the people that you are seeing,
Yeah.
not inputting some, I mean, lacking in something that goes inside of you. And so
Yeah.
that's where you went into poetry. We had that, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's
So I guess by that time you would not been to Maine.
I wish. If I had been to Maine, I would have never discovered writing. Who
Yes.
knows?
So when did you start going to Maine?
2011.
Okay.
2011. I started every single summer going to Maine. And
Okay.
even in Maine, my writing continued. So
Okay.
I would write by the beaches. I
Hmm.
would go to different beaches there, and I would just write by the ocean. So
Okay. Good. So before you even go into the main book that has brought here, as here, which is Justification, maybe we can have a sneak view of the other books that you've written in brief, one sentence, two sentences of each, and until you bring us to Justification.
first book,
Yeah.
Perfecting and Reforming Personal Religion.
Okay.
So this was the book that I put together after having, graduated college, after having understood that there was something lacking in
Mm-hmm.
the form of love that I needed.
Yeah.
This is when I dug into the Bible and understood the definition of love.
Mm-hmm.
So this book is a bit of a step-by-step process or counsel on self-development, on personal devotional development for self.
Mm-hmm.
Next book, A Fallen Record, The Christian Transgression.
Okay.
This is a book, a history book, talking about how the Christian church deviated from what the first apostles taught.
Yeah.
The next book, Heaven's Genuine and Counterfeit Ministry, it's again talking about how, not simply how the Christian church deviated from what the first apostles taught and from what the Bible actually teaches.
Mm-hmm.
It goes into the book of the Revelation, chapter 13,
Okay.
to talk about the future state religious government that will be, initiating minds and convincing individuals that this is quote unquote the kingdom of God.
Okay.
Next book, A Battle of Hosts, Controversy of the Sixth Seal. We're again back in the Revelation,
Mm-hmm.
chapter 6.
Okay.
And this book, in my writing, I do a lot of breaking down of the Hebrew and Greek language.
Yeah.
And so, a lot that's in the Revelation, it's really not consistent with Christian theology. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what this book gets into.
Okay.
The issue of the second coming of Christ and all of that, it's understood according to the Greek and Hebrew language to
Yeah.
understand the vision of the Revelation.
Mm-hmm.
The next book, A Prayer for Change, is actually an audiobook.
Okay.
And this is an audiobook I put together, just by the influence of different people out there that were wanting to know how to make Bible practical and how to make your spirituality practical.
Okay.
And so this is a book of chapters where I'm voicing and in a fairly decent, simple way,
Mm-hmm.
the practical routine that you can get in place for your own self on a daily basis to let the words of the counsel that you know and that you take on and read affect you personally.
Mm-hmm.
The next book, The Bible Sabbath,
Okay.
and this is another book, history book, um, kind of contrasting the Christian theology of a Sunday Sabbath to the Bible theology or the Bible philosophy of a Seventh Day Sabbath,
Okay.
and looking at the foundational roots according to the language in the Bible of the benefit of the Seventh Day Sabbath
Mm-hmm.
and its consistency up until this point in time, and
Mm-hmm.
the inconsistency of the Christian church to sort of manipulate that philosophy.
Okay.
Next book, Growth,
Okay.
is a book of poetry.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a book of poetry, getting at the heart and the root of my experience, putting in the counsels that I've learned from the living God
Okay.
into my life.
Yeah.
And so each poem, I actually started writing these poems 9 years ago. So this is a 9 year poem project.
Okay.
So each poem is like a piece of those 9 years of me being frustrated with myself and learning how to live in a way that is orderly as a human being, personally and devotionally. Frustrating, happy, joyful, the intimacy that's connected with you, being comfortable with you as a human being and as a mind,
Mm-hmm.
and also the shame and the embarrassment that you feel of connecting with yourself as a human being and as a mind and growing comfortable with that. That's this book of poetry, Growth.
Uh, Wonderful.
And then Justification.
Now we come to justification. Even
And
before
then,
going to justification, according to your analysis of the books that you've written, it shows that you draw your themes from the Bible. You're based on the Bible. So it could be right to guess that justification is based on what comes out of the Bible.
yeah, indeed, Justification is, and my books are generally, besides the book of poetry, even the book of poetry in a sense, but
Mm-hmm.
my books are generally scientific. So I stay to the research and the science that's within the Bible and explaining it
Okay.
point by point. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what Justification is. Justification is a book on how to know that your mind is for the living God and how to get into a practice of knowing as opposed to a traditional understanding or a traditional feeling or a traditional atmosphere. How do you get out of the traditional sense of I'm wearing a shirt to walking around knowing you're wearing a shirt?
Okay.
How do I know that I am part of the culture of what the living God promises to do for my heart and for my mind? And this book goes through the steps, shows from the Bible the little details and in the research in it to help the reader understand little things that they can do chapter by chapter as they go through their daily life.
Okay. What's the outline of the chapters?
Outline, man, from I actually just read a beautiful review on this book
Okay.
on Amazon.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that the person outlined the book is exactly the intention. And chapter by chapter, you go from the introduction to where the introduction is talking about faith.
Mm-hmm.
And there's a thing, the atheist has an argument
Okay.
that religion doesn't really want you to put your confidence in it because it's demanding something from you that it doesn't really give you an answer for. It wants you to have faith without any sort of belief.
Okay.
And so, which is absolutely valid,
Mm-hmm.
because that's just the route that the form of religion takes.
Mm-hmm.
But the philosophy that you get to when it's talking about justification in the language is that in order to have faith, you need knowledge.
Okay.
So I can't have, for example, my body is functioning without me even noticing it.
Mm-hmm.
So my body has knowledge that it is functioning that I don't have knowledge of, but I'm having faith that it does, and that faith plus that knowledge of my body is what keeps me going.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I'm not aware of that faith and that knowledge, it keeps me going.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with our devotional philosophy. No matter what we believe in, no matter what we do not believe in, a level of faith is needed.
Yeah.
And for that faith to be needed, a higher level of knowledge is needed. So that's the introduction. The introduction is asserting the fact that you cannot have pure and unadulterated faith without a knowledge, not of what you're supposed to have faith in, but a knowledge of the experience of what to have faith in.
Okay.
So that from that introduction, you go into the first chapter, And then you go into the second chapter, the third, the fourth, the fifth, the sixth, the seventh, the eighth, and the ninth. And these chapters are emphasizing the little points of what makes faith credible.
Yeah.
And there's points of reference that you need. For example, one chapter is called grace.
Okay.
And so, traditional theology says that before you eat, you say grace,
Mm-hmm.
or you need grace in order to live your life peacefully, or you need grace, or you need this. But it's, according to the Bible, taken out of context. The word grace isn't something for mercy, it isn't something for peace. In the language that's within the Bible, the word grace is a substance.
Yeah.
It's a substance that's supposed to go into the heart and into the mind for creation,
Mm-hmm.
because the living God is the creator.
Mm-hmm.
If And that's again the atheist point, completely checked off and verified. There's no creation in religion because it's dependent on you doing an act, or
Mm-hmm.
it's dependent on you believing on a philosophy.
Mm-hmm.
It's not dependent on your knowledge-based experience.
Okay.
Grace comes in, and grace, even though it's not physical, it's taken into the mind. Plenty of times you could say, may grace be with your spirit, spirit be with grace be with your spirit, grace be with your spirit, repeated throughout the words.
Yeah.
It's for the spirit of the mind, and
Mm-hmm.
it comes in and it creates. And this allows the living God to assess and to define our human being to our own self. So there's a couple chapters dedicated to grace.
Mm-hmm.
From grace, you move on to knowledge, because the substance of grace, allowing you to define you to yourself, is allowing you to build up knowledge of who you are and of who you are not, personally and devotionally.
Yeah.
And this is a couple chapters devoted on knowledge,
Mm-hmm.
and how this information, how it can then leave the realm of information to become credible wisdom
Okay.
that you can use to strengthen your faith, not in a belief of some figure called Jesus Christ, not in a belief of some figure called God the Father,
Yeah.
not in a belief that I am a Christian,
Mm-hmm.
you know, in a belief that the experience is based on the fact that I have suffered through the tears and the mental anguish and the shame and embarrassment of the correction of placing these words into practice, disassociating from who I need to disassociate with, disassociating from what I need to disassociate with,
Mm-hmm.
and disassociating with myself in a way that I know I need to disassociate from, to get that experience that is knowledge based,
Okay.
that allows that creation.
Yeah.
So from chapters 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 on, it's an analysis of the storytelling that is in the Bible, relaying how through stories faith is demonstrated, and how through that demonstration of faith the science of creation is explained. 17, 18, 19, and on to the rest of the end of the book, it's dealing with how that illustration tells the core philosophy of you, of me, of you viewers, and you who will watch afterwards, that you are a human being and your experience is not to be dictated by
Okay.
a mind,
Mm-hmm.
and by a mind that is outside of you. And so that's just that book, Justification.
Oh, okay. So who is this book intended to?
That is a good question, because there are so many books I do plan to publish
Mm-hmm.
until I get emails from people
Okay.
asking me questions.
Mm-hmm.
So the different people that ask me questions and that email me, I have my own thing that I think this is fun. I'm gonna publish it. But
Okay.
then people, they ask me questions and I go, this is this is the concern.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's more, and then what's more important? What I believe is cool and entertaining, or the concern?
Mm-hmm.
I always choose the concern.
Okay.
So the concern for the understanding that I'm hearing from different people, different churches, about why my religion isn't teaching me a couple of the or a lot of the things that your books have pointed out as I purchased them.
Mm-hmm.
Or you said something and I know it to be true, but I'm taught and raised a different way. How come I'm not, how come I don't know this the way that I know this?
Mm-hmm.
Or how can I make sure that my mind is on point and that I am healthy devotionally? It's just questions like that. It's that audience that dictates what I publish.
Okay. So you got so many questions that pointed to you bringing forth the issue of
It's
justification.
it's amazing. I
Yeah.
mean, there's regular lay, um, and then even pastors.
Yeah.
I get messages from them, voicemails and emails. There is a lacking of confidence in churches
Mm-hmm.
based upon what is taught through seminary.
Okay.
And it's been this way, but now it seems like it's just getting to the point where people are just being more vocal about it.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, I'm all over the place
Okay.
giving language and context of Bible.
Yeah.
I have yet, and I'm going to be so bold to this because I want that ear
Mm-hmm.
above this earth to hear me say this, because I always say this.
Mm-hmm.
There is no one on this planet giving Bible.
Mm-hmm.
There is no one on this planet giving sound philosophy for human mindfulness.
Mm-hmm.
It's all theological breakdowns of theological philosophies and theories
Mm-hmm.
from religious theologians and philosophers. That's all we're getting.
Uh-huh.
There is no one giving anything genuine.
Yeah.
And so when I am speaking or when somebody purchases my book and they tell me, and it makes me go, this is the concern.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is the concern that, I mean, I always find it helpful to know what people are going through in their religious experience and in their devotional experience,
Yeah.
because what I'm studying, it's contrary to what they believe.
Mm-hmm.
And what they're reading in my books and what they're hearing me say, it's contrary to what anyone else is saying. And so it's sort of like these emails, they're on a level of humility
Yeah.
that makes me humble, because it takes a lot for
Mm-hmm.
somebody. I'll give you an example. Maybe last year someone had my audiobook and they read it. I don't know them.
Mm-hmm.
They said to me, "I've lived in a way as a Christian and in my belief for 65 years.
Yeah.
And you expect me to hear something you're saying and to suddenly change my mind? Like, how am I supposed to change my mind on this after 65 years?"
Yeah.
And that's the issue. The issue is creation.
Mm-hmm.
The issue is creation, and that's the main philosophy of regeneration in thought and in feeling and in creation.
Mm-hmm.
Because our hearts are beating not to remain still. And water isn't still, even though it's a calm stillness and it appears to be that. Water is never still.
Yeah.
Waves and streams. I like to use the illustration of a rock at the center of a stream. That rock does not stop that stream from flowing.
Mm-hmm.
That rock at the center of the stream is our foundational denominational religious belief.
Yeah.
We are the stream. We're not supposed to let that rock somehow stop our stream from flowing.
Mm-hmm.
And so when, somebody reads anything of mine or hears anything from me, it's moving to me and I appreciate it, because it lets me know that the, what I'm putting out into this world, it's expanding, and it's causing a charge and a ripple that I don't even know. But again, I just go by faith. I can't feel it, I can't see it. All the people that hear me, they're normally silent, but the ones that do feel enough, that do reach out to me, that's how I know I need to publish this book. Because I had another book before Justification, a book on church and state, a book where I'm going through the philosophy that is within the Bible, where it talks about a lawful state and an unlawful state, lawful government, unlawful government, and
Mm-hmm.
the illustrations within it. I'm looking at how you can determine what is a lawful and an unlawful state,
Yeah.
and according to your human being and according to the conscience of your devotion. To me, that is an awesome subject.
Mm-hmm.
But then I'm getting emails of, I'm really not confident in what I'm taught in church.
Uh-huh.
I'm really uncomfortable when I'm sitting in church.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not lying, these are real people saying these things, and I'm really interacting with them.
Yeah.
And so when I hear these things, I've written this book, Justification. I started writing it back in 2014, but because there are other so many interesting subjects in the Bible that I come across,
Mm-hmm.
since then I've, the subjects in the books, they go. And so at this point in time in 2020, I turned back to this book in 2014 that I started,
Okay.
and finalized it, and got deeper into it, and then finally published it, seeing the need for it. And when I did, Just like my book Growth, which got tremendous response
Mhm.
from the poetry in it, this book got a tremendous response from very curious minds wanting to know something other than Christian theology,
Okay.
which they knew was lacking something,
Mhm.
and they knew was not that just according to their conscience and
Yeah.
according to their devotional mind. So they
Mhm.
stepped into my book. They stepped into my field of learning, and as they're going through, they're seeing that there's a language to the Bible that explains how they feel on the inside about where they should be. I should be knowing myself through my devotional experience. I
Mhm.
shouldn't have to sacrifice myself for the belief of someone else who supposedly did everything for me.
Mhm.
Yet within the Bible, it doesn't really say that. And I can't really find that unless I manipulate the language somehow.
Yeah.
So when people come across this and they see that their suspicions are valid, and at the same time their suspicions are so far from being true because so much is kept hidden by traditional religion,
Mhm.
the dissection of language and context really gives them an air that is fresh and a newness to how they carry themselves, and the liberation that from people that after they read something from me, I they get back in touch, and I find out what they're going through, what their steps, what they're doing. They're now taking their devotional mind and they're bringing it to a human being. So the human being and the devotional mind, they're marrying. It's not one or the other. It's not I am a Christian or I am this, so therefore this is my human being. Because religion makes you think that you are it.
Mhm. And it's good that you're meeting with some good feedback and people are coming
Yes.
and telling you how they are experiencing from reading your book. But all I know is that whatever you put forth out there, whatever you do, or whatever you write, whatever you say, there's going to be someone who has a different opinion of what you're
Oh,
presenting. Have you not met with such people who are telling you that whatever is that you're putting forth is not in accordance with the word?
have I not? Oh,
Yeah.
of course.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, there's for example, there are shows that do hear me, for example, Christian shows.
Mm-hmm.
They will say, you can't be on this show because you're not Christian enough.
Yeah.
Which I can't get mad at that because I'm giving Bible, I'm not giving traditional theology.
Yeah.
So outside of theology, there's a reality. You
Mm-hmm.
stay inside of theology, you're trapped in the reality that that theological paradigm or that theological reality sets.
Mm-hmm.
Outside of that, then you start to see what's real. So I can't get mad. And then there's other times I get positive messages and I get negative messages.
Yeah.
It's because it's just what you go through, and you're completely right.
Mm-hmm.
And even as I'm saying some of these things, there are, don't you know you're like one again last year, no, 2 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
someone came up to me and they said, don't you know that the things that you're saying people can harm you?
Mm-hmm.
3 years ago, again, after reading my book, A Fallen Record,
Mm-hmm.
somebody else says, don't you know that, probably after you die, the words that you say are going to mean more than what they mean when you're alive?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's just the level of the content that this is. Do you understand that?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm just looking at them and I'm just like, I'm just doing my job. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And so, there's a whole array of reactions and I love it. Positive, negative, shock, fear.
Mm-hmm.
I get them all.
Yeah. I understand that. And I always expect that someone is going to come and point out something that some other people have no idea exists in whatever that you're doing. So yeah, it's good to hear about your book Justification. And if you are to sum it with a few words, what would you say about the book?
Oh man, few words. I would say Exercise care and empathy with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Exercise care and empathy first with your devotional mind, and carry that care and empathy into your human being. Uh,
Or the core message of justification, if I would ask it in another way, the core message of justification in a nutshell.
Clearness of devotional conscience.
Okay.
Clearness of traditional belief for reality of your experience as a human being.
Okay. We take that, and whoever is ready to read justification, you can always follow up with Linwood, and you can also go to Amazon, I guess.
Amazon, you can Google my name, Linwood Jackson Jr.
Yeah,
All of my books will pop up.
we will also share the link to the book so that whoever is listening can look at it, and maybe there's a message that you're gonna get there. So yeah, you check on it. Next book, which books have you in mind that you're going to print soon?
Oh man, I have two. I
Yeah.
have two.
Mm-hmm.
One is, of course, another book dissecting the philosophy within the Bible.
Yeah.
Next book, a novel,
Okay.
little novella, fantasy novella.
Now this one is not going to be based on the Bible.
Oh man, this one will be based on a completely fictional character.
Okay.
The philosophies that are within the Bible will be within the book, but in a very, very easy, fun way,
Okay.
in a very creative way,
Ah.
with all of the characters and all the scenes and all of the action.
Yeah. So Justification is already out, isn't it? When was it published?
Justification was published in March of 2021. So it's already out. It's already on Amazon. It's already where all book
Mhm.
outlets are. You can find it on any online book platform.
Yeah.
Uh, and you can even find it on my website, linwoodjacksonjr.com,
Yeah.
LIN, linwoodjacksonjr.com.
Yeah, it's good to know that, because sometimes we also mention Amazon when we are actually meaning go and pre-order. It's good to be
It's
clear
there.
that it's already out and people can
Yep.
get it. They can
Yep.
read it on Kindle. They can order it,
They can.
be delivered to themselves. It's
Yes.
good to know that. And yeah, we are very glad to have had you in our show today on Book Talk. And we wish you much success as you pass the message of justification to whoever is going to read the book, and also success in all your future writings and past
Thank you.
writings. Continue
Thank
to
you.
write. There's someone out there who's waiting for your message, and they won't get it until you share it. So keep on writing. And coming to the viewers, thank you very much for watching this video, whether you watched it live or you're watching the recorded version of this episode. We really appreciate you. And we look forward to seeing you in the future. Please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel.